Hi there and welcome to my video. Today I'm going to show you how to use stencils in a different way. Usually we just take them and either apply some paint through them, or you can also use them on a jelly plate and take the image off of them. But today we're going to use them as a stamp. And the reason why I like using them this way is because they can actually provide a second life for some jelly prints. If you feel like maybe they're a little boring, you could add some more imagery on top of them. Or you could also add them to your mixed media projects, either on canvas or paper, and it will infuse a different image onto them. So this is an example of some that I've done, but I'm going to show you how I do it 3 different ways. Let's get started. So the first thing you need is something to print on, and this is just a heavy-duty watercolor page. And then we're going to also need some kind of ink pads for our first go around, and then also some alcohol. I put it in a bottle just so it's easy to spray. And I prefer alcohol over water. A lot of people use water, but I like alcohol because it doesn't run as much as water, but also it dries really quickly. And then we just need some kind of wax paper or any kind of paper. I just like using the wax paper. And then some kind of paper towel to absorb the extra ink. So what you do is just put the extra paper over your substrate, put the stencil down, and then ink it up with the ink pad. You just rub it or whatever way gets the ink down. The next step is spray it with the alcohol, just to kind of activate the ink because it dries very quickly. Carefully pick the stencil up, flip it over, and push it down onto the substrate with the paper towel. Now that pressure will kind of act as like a stamp pad. And there it is. So you can kind of see how it gave the inverse image, but it's like a cool, grungy way to use it. This would look really interesting in some mixed media pieces. I like how that turned out. So the next way you can use stencils as a stamp, you can use a spray as well. You don't need to use the stamp pads. So it's the same process. Just going to use the other side of this. This time we're going to spray the stencil. Because this is a little more wet than the stamp pad, it's going to be a little runnier. I'm just going to try to put it down very quickly so it doesn't move. Push it down. And there's another imprint. So it generally looks very similar to the other one. This one was the stamp pad. This one was the oxide spray. Now, the third way you can use a stencil as a stamp is by using paint. This is fluid. It's a lot easier to use than the regular acrylic paint. So I'm just going to put a little here. You can see it's a lot more liquidy, so it shouldn't dry as fast as the inks. And it's important to have that paper underneath just so that when you're actually painting on the stencil to create the stamp, you don't ruin your substrate in the process. So I am going to add the alcohol again just so that it doesn't dry. Just a few sprays. And it's kind of neat because it creates a transfer right onto the deli paper too. So we're just putting it down, pushing with the paper towel for that pressure to create the imprint, and then picking it up. So this one was a little more faint. Probably would have to use a little more paint for it, but I actually like it too. So these are all fun ways to just create new images, maybe on works you already have, or to add to something new that you're creating. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to add some to this jelly print. It's kind of boring to me, so I wanted to add a little extra to it. can kind of see how that added just a faint pattern to it, which I really like. And if you want more of a darker pattern, just add a little more ink, a little spray, and it will show right up. So here's another example of jelly print that I just kind of want to add a little more oomph to. So I'm just going to use this stencil and add some pink to it. As long as your ink pads have a lot of life left to them, they're nice and moist, it's a fairly easy process. The problem is when they're dry, then they don't transfer very well. So just something to keep in mind. Put it down, apply the pressure to make the stamp. And that came out really nice. So it just added a little dimension to that jelly print. Not really complicated, but something that can kind of give a different life to your stencils, and you can use them in a lot of different ways in your work. I hope this was helpful to you today. If you like this video, you can watch some other tutorials right here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.